I continue to encourage the study of systematics. Systematics in homeopathy, I think, is your key. Not to say you can neglect materia medica of individual remedies and everything, but when you study the systematics, what is this class of remedies? How do we understand them? And you're able to differentiate them and tell what's special about that individual remedy versus kind of what's characteristic of the group. You not only gain a wider appreciation of the materia medica and kind of this evolutionary movement that humans go through, but you actually learn how to differentiate the remedies really well. It was specifically mentioned by Hahnemann several times that closely related remedies often do have a lot in common, but they have key differences. But that is a really key purport thing, and it really is our key to kind of mastering large amounts of materia medica and everything. This person's in the bird remedy realm, they're kind of towards this, and then you can be like, okay, they're in one of these groups, and oh, I got a chart and a book for you. Differentiate them and figure, oh, it's this one. Great. And you can get a really exact remedy really quickly and really quite easily that way with a minimal amount of study.
You've got some always have projects up your sleeve, but you've just finished yet another project. Do you want to tell us all about it?
Hello,
homies, and welcome back to Homeopathy Hangout, where we have return guest. I don't know, is it the third or the fourth time now?
Actually, if I recall.
Dr. Paul Theriault from Calgary. Woohoo! The crowd goes wild.
Thank you for having me, Eugenie.
Anytime, Paul. I always have my mind blown and feel inspired and uplifted whenever I've had a chat with you. So thank you for coming back on. I appreciate it. And
you're welcome for having me.
I get to meet you in Bali. Yay!
Oh.
Paul's coming to our Bali conference soon. Actually, by the time this comes out, those listening might still have a chance to purchase some tickets. We've still got like about 5 or so left. When you agreed to come to our Bali conference, I was like just giggling and jumping like a little girl. I'm just so excited. But you've got always have projects up your sleeve, but you've just finished yet another project. Do you want to tell us all about it?
Oh, I just finished my bird book, and at first it was my bird book, and then it was my frigging bird book, and then it was my damn bird book, and then I just kept swearing more and more and more as I was referring to it, because it took me 3 years, and it ended up being 757 pages. I actually got a copy right here. You see, this is my proof copy.
Oh my gosh.
And it's not like a little book either, and the writing is...
Yeah. Oh, can you flick through a bit more of it?
Sure.
It's good for those watching on Rumble.
This is Nigellus Angelus as we just go to random things. What is this?
Wow.
It's about owls. So this is it's a really
that
good...
is chocker full of information. So you haven't done like the big spaces everywhere and big margins and like that.
I don't pull that bullshit.
Is
just
meaty.
Like nothing but pictures and everything.
Wow.
It is really text heavy. There were 800,000 words or something like that when I did the document, and so it was quite a bit.
So you must feel so relieved because
I
have a confession to make, because I offered to help Paul edit his book, and I think I got about 20 pages in, and then I'm like, I can't do this.
So you can understand how I feel. It was quite a bit.
Yeah.
I finished it actually in November, and it took me like 6 months to get around to editing it because I was just so over it. But it's done, and it's published, and it's out there, and it's done.
Congratulations. That is incredible. That's a huge feat of perseverance and just damn hard work, really.
Thank you.
And you've got
now that it's published, I actually have to talk about it. So I'm not quite done yet. But yeah, no, I have to talk about it now. So
and not just talk about it, but you've actually created a PowerPoint for us as well, apparently.
No, I'm just in a PowerPoint.
Look at you go.
Right now. So I'm going to share my PowerPoint. So, all right, my refuge tree. These are a good chunk of the people that have ended up teaching me a bunch of things. So, that's my lineages and so forth.
I love that you do that. I think all of us, everyone should do that. We should all have a lineage tree, and we should always acknowledge the people, like the shoulders of the giants that we stand on and who've had an influence on what we do. I freaking love that you do that.
It's an important one. And remember, just kind of right down here in the middle is the picture of kind of a healthy human that my friend Sue Clemson did. So I need to do a meditation one, and it occurs to me now that I need to add a couple more people to this. So we're just going to have a brief little reminder of the layers / the way we divide the homeopathic materia medica. There's about 8 of them. First layer is kind of like, do I exist or not? Second layer is, am I separate from others or not? Third layer is who am I? What is my identity kind of thing. Fourth layer is, I call it building the nest, making sure that you can take care of yourself and other and family and all that kind of thing. Fifth layer is dealing with difference, other people, novelty. Sixth layer is kind of dealing with society, justice, injustice, law, that kind of thing. Seventh is your calling, your purpose, what you bring to reality that no one else can. And I don't have it on here, but eight is kind of this expansion of consciousness beyond your individual self. So you see that a lot in the radioactives, the actinides, the fungi, and also in some bird remedies. Now this is a bit older of a version of this table that I did. So it turns out some of the more advanced mammals, like the rodents and the bunnies and the primates, actually verge into layer 7 a little bit. And some of the more primitive birds go into layer 6, and some of the more advanced birds, the astrolabes, go into layer 8. So it's a little bit more spread out than I put here on this table, but it still works. So the core feature of the birds, Jonathan Shore always put it as freedom, and the core concept of the birds is the natural state. So the natural state in Tibetan religion is your state of mind. Past anything of the energy fields, any of the complexes, any of the thoughts and mental abstractions of you. We are not these physical bodies. Most homeopaths don't have a problem with that, but we're also not these energy bodies. They are little diving suits, as Gerard Guignot used to say. We are a consciousness that exists outside of time and use them as a little diving suit to get around in physical reality. We, everyone, is spacious openness and awareness itself, which is completely indivisible from space, from reality, from physical existence. It's eternal and it's beyond all causes and conditions. It just kind of gets mucked up here and gets stuck here in physical reality. As humans mature, as we go through our maturation cycle, we should naturally grow into this state, and our vitality should transform from kind of a finite vitality, so kind of like our energy fields that we have here. Like, if you want to learn about that, there's a really good book called Hands of Light, and any of Barbara Ann Brennan's, she describes them very perfectly. She describes finite energy bodies, but she describes them very well. We should move out to a new state, but we don't for a whole bunch of reasons. Pathology in the birds occurs when they can't move into this state, when something is stopping them, which is the more primitive birds. We have enough birds now that we don't have to just like schmock them into one big generic bird category. We can differentiate them. When we can't stay in this state all of the time, or when we can't transform into its influence. So most of the neo-avs are in that you can't stay in that freedom expansiveness state, or when you can't transform in it is the astrolabes, and I'll explain what those are. They're the most advanced birds. So in birds, we see several physical affinities as well. They have a profound effect on the musculoskeletal system. Like there's almost every musculoskeletal pathology in some way in the birds. A patient with a musculoskeletal pathology may not need a bird remedy constitutionally, but we can use them more on that physical pathology level for those. I actually did a little mini repertory in the back of my book for some of the physical things
Oh,
there. So
great. I love it when people do that, especially when it's new remedies and you're just not sure how to like exactly integrate it. Like a little repertory is brilliant. Thank you.
you're welcome. I'm probably going to try it. Maybe one day when I have energy, I'm going to try and do that for all of the animals, but don't hold your breath. It's going to take me a while. Another issue is immunity. It's really, really strong in the passeriforms, which are the songbirds, but it's globally present in most of these. It's also really present in the hawks and the land fowl.
Like
And
Anna's
also,
Barb.
yeah, Anis barba. Well, Anis barba is a waterfowl, but like they've all kind of got this kind of thing all together. So it's very strong, but it's a global issue. And metabolic issues. They tend to be just like ravenous, underweight, delicate, fine boned, as Lou Klein pointed that out as well quite a bit. So in the layer 6 birds, the more primitive birds, you have the paleognats. Paleognats are like ostriches and emus and cassowaries and junk.
I've been waiting for you to say where cassowary fit in it, and if you did it, if cassowary made it into your book.
Cassowary made it. I'm going to
It
show you the
did.
picture.
Woohoo!
There's a picture. I'm going to
That
show
was
you the
a
picture.
podcast conversation we had a couple of years ago, and I was saying to you that I've just discovered that the emu feather has got like a split spine, or you probably know the correct
Yeah,
word. And I said, I want to prove that. And you were like, no, that's been done. Do cassowary instead.
there we go.
Oh, you legend.
There you go. And there you're
Oh,
listed.
and a huge kudos to Sarah Valentini because she did most of the work on that proving. Massive, massive amounts of work. So shout out to
It's
her.
a lot of work, and I will say, just to toot my own horn a little bit, about a third to a quarter of that book is like my own original work because I found
Wow.
big holes in the Materia Medica, so I decided to just fill them, and it turns out that was a lot longer and a lot more work than I thought it would, but it's done. So
Wow. Have you
that's
had a
what.
party yet? Like, have you taken the chance to like have a party? Like have a
Oh no,
celebration?
it's been like a month, and I've been like traveling for most of that month, so I've not had a party yet, but I'm going.
Okay,
I'm
well, we will
going.
have a party for you in Bali, okay? If you haven't had one before, then or after.
That will be fun. So anyway, their society is preventing the shift. And the society can be actually really coercive. Like I did egg of the elephant bird in Madagascar, A. ornis, and it was, you can imagine like this old woman that's just a shriveled husk and so contracted and arthritic she couldn't move, but she's controlling everyone else around her. So you go, when you're a young person under this remedy, from being a young person, having your freedom curtailed by this elder, and then you just kind of grow into it, and then you become dependent on this coercive. It's really sick. Or in like Struthio Camillus, where just the ostrich, where there's a huge emphasis on abusive relationships, where the controlling relationship is with like a boyfriend or something like that, where they're really abusive, like beat you up, they're going to beat up
Mm,
everyone else threatening you kind of
mm.
thing. Just a very common indication for Struthio.
Can I put in a request that what you just did with the Latin name and then also the common name? That would be really awesome because most of our listeners and me are going to have trouble keeping up with you because you are next level. So
Right, 757 pages, the Latin names stick a little better. So the galliforms, or the landfowl,
thank you.
they're a little bit more advanced, but they're not completely dominated by these social force, like this more society thing, but they can't screen out socialization. So there's this battle between the true social self, the true expansive self, who they really are, and who they're expected to be. And that's actually very common. The anseriforms have a very similar, and those two families, the waterfowl and the landfowl, are very closely related, so they're quite similar in that regard. Anseriforms tend to be a little bit more aggressive, and the landfowl tend to be a little bit more passive, but they both, just society has kind of excluded these feelings, and they can't really fend that off. Then we get to the primitive neoavs. So neoavs are kind of the birds proper. Each lineage of birds, I should have put a little picture in, but each lineage of birds kind of splits off from bird development at a given time. So the next splitting off lineages are the more primitive but proper birds. They are flamingos and they are columbomorphae, which are doves. Both of these families, which are quite closely related in most bird conceptualizations, are both of these have something that they need externally in order to get to that free and expansive state. Flamingos will go out and get it. And the one I did was Phoenicopterus roseus. I forget which flamingo that is, but it
Roseas makes me think of something red or pink.
is indeed a red flamingo. But there's also, we only have the one proving that I did. But with them, it's beauty, youth, and vibrancy. So you can think of someone, it's very easy to go and get those things when you are young and vibrant. You'll be pretty happy, but kind of as you get older, you can get people who just never give up the club scene and end up being like quite predatory on people who are younger than them and will often kind of end up as like in really bad states of pathology, kind of like sex vampires and things like that. It can be quite horrifying. Flamingo's got a lot of, it's a pretty dark remedy when you get down to the worst states. But flamingos and those ones will actually, those closely related birds called grebes will go out and they will get that energy. In columbomorphae, so the doves, they just will be miserable without it. They won't take any active steps. They're super passive. They just feel really grief stricken when it goes away on its own because they can't do anything. So that's their pathology. So the next kind of big division of birds, and I'll just speak on that for a moment. There are like 15 ways of classifying birds, and I had to pick one.
Wow,
So
so it's worse than plants and
worse than plants.
okay.
It's getting a little bit more clear. There's some broad agreement, but I picked Jarvis just because it was the most, and I screwed around with it a little bit just because of the homeopathic findings. There are times when you will find things that I do things a little differently just because the remedies were so similar. But so the Passerea, so Passerea are kind of the next big group. They've got the eternal energy. They've got it, that kind of expansiveness. They've got it all the time, but they just react and deal with it. So in the Otidomorphae, there's almost a rejection of this energy. It's just really uncomfortable for them.
Can you give an example of the Passeria and also the Ototomorphia.
Oh, the
Just to kind of
otidomorphic.
know what's
Thank you
the
for reminding me. Those are cuckoos. So you'll
okay.
get Felis canoris, which is unproven until I did it, and like a geococcyx, so the roadrunner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, which is very, so with those ones, they'll often like distance themselves from it, or sometimes they'll just completely throw themselves into that expansive energy to the point of distancing themselves from everything that's not that. It's a very, I just prescribed it for one patient just who wanted to throw away all of her relationships in life and move to Paris and that kind of thing. And not that that's a bad thing, but we want her to feel this energy in all of her circumstances,
Mm.
not just that. So the musophagiforms are the Turasos. They're kind of a little African bird clade. They're actually really closely related to the Otidomorphae, so I might have put the two of them together, but I didn't. And again, there's distancing. There's the one I did, which was Corypheola cristata, or the blue crested turris, or turiso, which I don't know how I got a feather of it, but I did. So it's, again, that nebulous anxiety. They're distancing themselves from it. Next, we have the Charidiforms. The Charidiforms are like the gulls, like seagulls and Larus argentatus and so forth. You can only connect to that state in like a parasympathetic state. So if you're like relaxed and calm, and like every one of them has something that really stresses them out, and that kind of takes them away from it. The Gruiforms are the cranes. So I did Japanese crane, which is also approved by one of the Japanese homeopaths. I forget her name. I apologize for
Koa?
not. Yes, it was her. There's this meditative state that's disrupted by some, and that's kind of when they get into that expansiveness, it's meditative.
Mm.
There's a big heavy emphasis on that, and just life takes them out of it. I wish I would have gotten, I really wanted to go because there's a whooping crane breeding facility a couple of like a kilometer from my house
Mm.
and everything. And the Calgary Zoo has been so instrumental in reviving the whooping cranes, but I couldn't get a feather.
We've
I'm
got
just,
this
oh,
amazing blue crane in South Africa as well. It was on the, I think that was the 5 cent coin, but they was fascinated the hell out of me.
yeah, no, it's in there.
Yes.
I think one of the South African school made a remedy out of it and included it.
Oh,
I think it's
amazing.
Paradisia something or other. So yeah, like I was really thorough.
Wow.
So the next two in the more primitive neoavs are the strysors. The strys oh, what are the strysors? Hummingbirds. Hummingbirds and those kind of things. They feel this trapped into the body and they need to get out of the body to feel that state, but like everything puts them back in. And then there's the RDA. That feeling, that expansiveness is divorced from their day-to-day life.
Mm.
They can't really integrate the two together. It's almost like they've got this separation between them and they just can't live them both at once. The remedy will bring them to the place where they can. And one of mine, my favorite ones, so this is a whole order of birds, probably quite closely related to the cranes. So I'm going to give you guys a more detailed example. This is the Hoatzin, or Opisthocomus hoazin. It is the stink bird, and it is called that because it eats plants, and it's the one bird with a fermentative gut. So it ferments things in its gut like a cow. So it's actually not that good at flying, and it smells really bad. So yeah, somehow Aini got me a feather. So it's a remedy
I've
now.
never seen this bird before. It's really cool looking.
It's in the Amazon.
Oh,
It looks kind of it's big too. It's like a couple meters across. It's big. So this is for my write-up. So the key notes of this remedy are burning, diarrhea, and dysbiosis, and then suffering and despair. So it can live in the state of the birds, but it's very easily disrupted if it suffers at all. Stubs its toe, it's like, I'm out of my eternity state, kind of thing. It hardens, and the more it does this, the more the vital force kind of hardens this higher expansive eternal energy. When it's healthy, it's able to be like, oh, okay, this isn't a big deal, boop, and bring it back to that place. But it eventually, this gets harder and harder and harder as health declines. It begins to doubt whether life is worth living and reduce it and remove itself from its ability, and it loses the ability to connect to those higher energies, which usually in the birds are connected to purpose. So physical symptoms emerge, and the ones that really emerged from this are dysbiosis. So dysbiosis was imbalance in the gut flora. This is a remedy on par with like aqua amniota or the bowel nosodes for that kind of global dysbiosis. It tends to lie a little bit. So far, in just the people I've used it on, I've tended to use it as like, so we've all had these patients where you give them polybowel or you give them the indicated bowel nosode and it doesn't quite hold all the time. They'll often need an underlying remedy. Janinum is a really good one for that, but so is Opisthocomus hoazin. There
what's
is
Janine? Janinas? I haven't heard of that.
Janinum?
Janina.
Jo-
Oh,
Janina, yeah.
gotcha. Oh, sorry, John. Yeah, like it's got this weird. Okay, no, I know what you need. It's just that the spelling of.
Green's disease, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
okay, gotcha.
so that's what I'm talking about.
I never know
There,
how to pronounce that. I haven't heard that
I
pronunciation
don't
before,
know
and I was
either, but
like,
that's how I say it. I
yeah,
don't
I
know if
have
I'm
seen a
right.
post once of like, how do we pronounce this word? Okay, no, I know what you mean now.
So at first, there's an acidic feeling in the intestinal tract, churning and cramping of the stomach, swelling and bloating of the belly, and there is burning diarrhea. And you can see from my description, there's a pretty big resemblance to arsenicum, but arsenicum does not have these free, expansive bird feelings. It doesn't. Maybe you give someone arsenicum and they're like, oh, and then opisthocomus might be a great idea. But there can be long, debilitating diarrhea with suddenness, and they feel like they always have to be near a bathroom. Like when they have to go, man. There's a big resemblance to kind of IBS, and they really suffer with this. And in more healthy states, they'll be able to keep the toxins generated by dysbiosis in the intestinal tract. But again, as they get sick, they can't do that. And it's a pretty important thing to remember. Oh, there can also be brain fog, fibromyalgia, flushes of heat on movement. There can be parasympathetic dysregulation, excesses of cortisol, and which may be a good idea to go alongside these in some patients. Heat flashes with like waking during the night with heat flashes, but you're cold when you take the blankets off. Difficulty returning to sleep and falling asleep, and sleeplessness. And there can be a complete inability to relax. And eventually they can become malnourished, cachexic, sinking into chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, and see life is not worth living. And they can eagerly anticipate death, but they usually don't have active suicidal impulses. We can see this, like when I write a remedy up, I write from, oh, here's the basic inner state that they have a problem with. Here's how it gets worse and 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 blah. And it ends. Quite often with remedies, we're used to see like with a remedy like veratrum, or a lot of the remedies we only see the extremes. The more mild
Yeah.
pictures can escape us. But a remedy it's a story that can occur. You can catch it at any point
Mm.
along its thing in the development from like, oh, this is a problem. You've got a slight, imbalance of your vital force to like, wow, man, you're crazy. You got to be able to recognize that development over time.
Mm.
So I actually do have a case of this one, and it's written in the book. So I'll just read it to you guys a little bit. But she was a 55-year-old female patient in April 2024 who had colon cancer that was treated with radiotherapy and chemo. And the surgical site had herniated and it required more surgery. And since these times, she got fatigue and bowel incontinence. Basically, she needed to go to the bathroom. She needed to plan her life around this. It was a huge weight on her. And then she didn't have the energy to do things. Like she felt limited. And limited how? She wanted to do her work. She wanted to live this life and this full freedom, expansive life. And birds, they're talking about expansion, this state of consciousness, but they'll often, particularly in English, if they're English speakers, use the word freedom to describe it. But don't get stuck on that word. Freedom doesn't necessarily need a bird, and a bird doesn't necessarily need freedom, but they go together a lot. And then she described freedom. She was failing as a human in this, and she wanted the freedom to do what she wanted to. And freedom sometimes can just mean choice. But in this case, she described it as this expansive blue sky, sunshine, warm, no worries, no timelines, no pain, one with the earth and sky, and soaking it all in, tasting it and feeling it and everything. That's a bird. I gave her this remedy, and she actually got worse at first. She had a bit of an aggravation, and then she improved. And when she improved, she actually started lucid dreaming. So it was really interesting. She started doing that quite regularly. And we kind of kept her on that remedy. I did some other things. I did some more C-style protocols for her to deal with radiation, to deal with chemo and everything. And eventually we got her on some adrenal glandulars and some minerals that really helped a lot. The bowels have not completely resolved, and there's some surgical stuff behind that. I hope they do. I'm going to keep working at it and everything, but that was still a really good case. She started lucid dreaming and everything. I sent her off to some dream work teachers to really work on that. She started being able to control it, go wherever she wanted to. So she had the freedom, even if not always in the physical body, which was
Wow. It's important to talk about this because how our body chooses to heal can sometimes look different to what we think it should be. And it's important to recognize that if your body is doing that, it is actually healing on quite a profound level. It's not probably what you might have wanted, but that is how the vital forces
Oh no, I was
able to
very happy
express
with the
its
outcome.
balance.
I just also would have liked the bowels to be
Yeah.
easier as well. Sometimes surgery after surgery, you can't always get that going on.
Mm.
There is also a thing in this remedy about external forces and saviors to liberate them from suffering and despair. So people are often attracted to like particular religions, like, emphasize being saved by an external figure. There's a couple of them. So when you give it, they may also have a bit of diarrhea. So, you may get kind of as the body cleanses itself of unsatisfying bacteria. But typically you can experience that the diarrhea is less distressing after you give the remedy. So it's like, oh, I'm getting diarrhea again, but it doesn't really bug me. I'm like, all right, stick with it. Maybe lower the potency just a scooch. So that's one remedy. That's one that's in my book, and it's a good one. Basically, now one of the more advanced Passerea are called the telerabs, or the bird. There's not really an English word for this, but they're the birds that live in trees. So they can connect to eternity. I'll call that expansive state of consciousness, eternity. They're there. But now it becomes, rather than in earlier birds, their calling kind of connected them to that expansive energy, eternity, and now it becomes about actually serving the universe, serving others. So we see the accipitromorphae, which are the hawks, not the falcons. They're different. They're evolutionary different, even though they look exactly the same. The hawks and eagles have a service rule. They want to do it all themselves. They don't accept help. And it exhausts them. They cannot sustain it. How many homeopaths fit into this? I fit into this a good chunk of it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the strigiforms, so the owls, their whole thing is translating energy into, or this eternity, which contains all information, into like human knowledge and something that can be used. They're really good like at engineering and translating it down. But the thing is, they never feel listened to, and they feel like their translation has no effect. And the Korachomorphae, which includes birds like the Hoatzin and the Hoopoe, so there's not really an English word for it, they feel guardianship. So they'll preserve an environment for others to evolve in. That's kind of their calling. And then the Australabs. So the Australabs are the falcons, the parrots, and the songbirds, and this other group of birds called the Syremas that I couldn't get a hold of. But now they actually start to transform their vital force. They become eternal and expansive and angelic. They stay there all of the time. And there really is the development of these energetic wings that happens in the human energy field afterwards. And those wings, they serve to kind of localize us. They're like little antennas. So you can simultaneously pull in a bunch of energy and information, and they'll localize you in space-time, or your energy body. So this is, in fact, actually quite an ancient tradition. The Christians did not invent this, though we associate these energetic wings with Christianity a lot of the time, but they actually predate Christianity by several thousand years. The earliest known figures of these were the Erotes, were this set of Greek deities, of whom Eros was the oldest and the most famous. They were primordial deities preceding even the creation of the Titans. So isn't that fun? The god of love, Eros, preceded the birth of any other deity and everything like that. He was one of the original children of chaos and, earth and time and space and all that kind of, or not even before time. Time was Kronos, who's one of the Titans. So Greek mythology had a depth of meaning that's lost nowadays if we all focus on the, today Zeus was horny and various things ensued. So, yeah. But these are the earliest of these like angelic winged human figures, and they kind of knew something was up in this regard. So this transformation happens. So again, these parrots, falcons, Syremas probably, and songbirds do affect this eternal transformation in themselves when they're fully there. Falcons, they feel victimized for this. Falcons are some of the most victim-y remedies you'll ever find in your life. And not just a mental thing, like people are actually really mean to them. It sucks. So falcons are like, this is not all in their heads. Sometimes it is, but they're not like a rust talks, where rust talks, it's in their heads. Like they are victimized and in their own minds, but you actually meet the husband or something else or their sibling or anything, and they're actually really sweet. It's inside them. Falcons, not so much. It's really there. The parrots, they really get, I swear to God, I think Gandhi was a parrot. So a lot of Gandhi's works are all about, trying to overcome the attachment to outcome with karma. Gandhi was a karma yogi, overcome attachment to outcome and everything. And you read them after a little while, like, man, you were talking to yourself, weren't you? So they get really attached to the outcome of their service, like meeting a goal or something. But no, the service is a way to transform yourself, to connect to that eternity and whoosh. And when you transform yourself, you have a much more profound effect than anything you could do in the 3D realm. And Passeriforms are the most advanced of these. They sing their song. They transmit their nature as an individual being into the universe, into reality itself when they're fully actualized. And that will shift reality. Like it changes the nature of space time. But basically, they can't do it because of their miasms, because of all these blockages and all these circumstances and everything. You and I have talked about Bombacilla last time.
Mm, mm.
There's a Passeriform, and it's the same thing. They need their inside to match their outside. And so they try to do this. It's just everyone's mean to them. So you can think like a person, like you could think like a little queer boy who's, assigned male at birth, but wants to get his hair and all thing and style himself a certain way, but he lives in a really homophobic culture, and there's all sorts of religious people that don't want him to do that. Well, and so with Bombacilla, it's just he's going to do it anyway. He's going to get the crap beaten out of him, and there's going to be and that's really going to aggravate him. In the Passeriforms in particular, there's an emphasis on the immune response. And a lot of them really will kind of have these terrible immune systems. So they're trying to clear these things that are going to stop them from singing their song. But in our culture, we don't let people do that. So that's typically where you find a lot of the pathology. Oh, that's it. That's done. So that's where the birds end.
Holy moly. Well, first question I have is where's the best place for people to purchase your book? I don't know you've got, is this an ebook yet? Because I know a lot of your books you can get in ebook and also physical form.
I'm going to work on getting an ebook. It is right now available from lulu.com.
And all your books are on lulu.com. So somebody can go in there and they can just type in Paul Theriault
Yeah.
and it'll come up.
Yeah, no, they're all on lulu.com. I do not use Amazon because Amazon pays me nothing, and I am not in life to pay for Jeff Bezos's various marriages and divorces and things.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm here for, man. Like he's got enough money to pay for himself. But like I remember I put one book on there and like it sold a couple of copies and they paid me like 10 cents. And I'm like,
Oh,
no, I'm done. I can't take it off. It's really, I can't it's not even can't figuring it out. It's like, I don't know. I signed away part of my soul to sell it on there or something like that. And
yeah.
they take it off. So I'm like, all
It's
right,
really
we'll
awful.
again. If you see anything of mine on Amazon, please don't buy it.
I'm glad you say that. That's something I always ask authors on the podcast because I have heard this where some places, if you buy a book from the author in that particular place, the person doesn't get much. So I always ask the authors, where's the best place for people to buy the book on to benefit you? Because there's homeopaths work so effing hard on whether it's provings or whether it's books or whether it's in the clinic or whatever.
737 or 57 or something pages.
Wow.
So it's a lot of work. So yes, please buy it on Lulu if you're able to and everything. I keep saying every book that I write is going to be my last respectable book, but there's another couple of respectable books that are kind of popping up in my head lately. So maybe when I'm not so tired, I will go and do more of that.
You're never going to stop writing because that is your gift and something that like that we all get to benefit from. So I think you're kidding yourself if you think you're ever going to stop writing because that is really who you
No,
are.
maybe one day I'm just going to take a little break for right now. Like, I really want to write a book on miasms and energetic immunity. And I really want to write a book on funguses too, because funguses, they also have this kind of structure where you've got early branching funguses. And I did a trituration series of them all, and they're really interesting. So I'm like, I'd love to. And funguses are simple. There's just a column. It's just a column of them. They went off at this stage. This is how they respond to this. So I'd love to do a thing on funguses, but I haven't for a while in the future.
What's been
So,
your biggest challenge with a book, with your bird book?
my bird book, it was just getting it done. It was just a slog. It wasn't even like the resources came to me, and then people started sending me feathers and things and everything. So that part was really easy, but it was just doing it day to day, and I was doing it during a pretty turbulent period in my life as well. I was having a lot of difficulties, personally, and it was really kind of rough to kind of stick with it during that. But I did. Did a couple periods where I just didn't work on it for a couple of weeks, but then I came back and then I'm just, all right, it's done. I finished it.
Do you feel it's kind of like a proving, when you're stepping into proving, then all this stuff happens? Do you feel like this bird book was kind of like stepping into almost like a larger proving where the things that happened in your life, were they related to the book or to the themes of the birds?
Well, no, I don't think so,
Okay.
because those were me things.
Okay.
So I really started it right in August 2021. I think I started it the day I did the first COVID vaccine and got really sick from it. Like I started
Mm.
it, oh, I gotta go get that. So that's what happened.
Mm.
And then that all that kind of stuff happened. And then yeah, just a bunch of other personal
Mm.
stuff happened. So it's just most of that stuff was me.
Okay.
And so there were not issues with freedom and everything else like that. That is not where
Mm.
my jam
Mm.
is. My remedies typically focus around the radioactive remedies, so that was not my jam as much.
And you didn't have
Freedom.
any more birds sacrifice themselves in front of you to be made
No, I
into
did
remedies?
not.
Okay,
I
good.
had two over the course of a decade kind of died directly in front of me and did that. It was a magpie, we call them here, Pica hudsonia,
Hmm.
and then it was Bombacilla died in front of me. So, but
Wow.
everyone sent me a bunch of feathers. Like
That's
Mikhail sent me a bunch of feathers and everything. So Mikhail
mm.
Yakir sent me, that was really nice, and they were really good remedies
Mm.
too. And I ordered them. And it was a good thing, and I'm glad it's there. And I kind of made it to the point I made it so it could be like, the final bird reference and everything. And it has literally every one that was published that I could find. So
Wow.
yeah, no, there was.
If you are a homeopath that wants to buy a bird book, this is going to be the one to buy. It sounds like it's the most comprehensive bird book that will be out there.
I know someone else is going to publish another bird book, like, or another bird proving like tomorrow, and it's just going to drive me
It's
insane.
going to.
It's been good. It's been good. I write a book, and then typically there's not a lot of activity in that domain afterwards. I think one person published one case of like one mammal remedy since then, because I keep track of this stuff. But I've not been wildly out of date yet.
Well, I've got
Yeah.
this red-tailed black cockatoo feather that's been sitting here. I'm just waiting for the right time, but it needs to be a remedy. They fascinate the hell out of me. They're so beautiful. We've got a lot of them
Oh,
here in
those
Western Australia.
You should read the parrot section. The parrots are very interesting. There again,
Mm.
it's the obsession between like actually getting a job done versus using your calling, your thing to transform yourself. So
Mm.
it can be very, very
Mm.
interesting contrast.
You've mentioned a few things already, but what are some other things that you would say that would make somebody think of prescribing a bird remedy? Because Marcus Kuntosh, was that his name?
Hmm.
I
Yep,
think he wrote
Quintosh.
yeah, that's right. So, he said about, often there'll be shoulder or like neck issues with the birds with flying. So sometimes that's been like an alert.
Musculoskeletal issues
Okay.
in general. There can be a
Sure.
lot of, yeah.
Okay.
They tend to be a little bit more functional the more advanced the bird is, and if they're more like like very lesional, you might think a more primitive bird, but not always. And sometimes you get just like really weird things like chicken feathers and Botox injuries. Like that was one thing I've actually
What?
tested that, yes, but that came through so clearly in the proving, in the trituration is chicken and Botox. And just like not only that, the proving really matched up as well. So I really want to try it. Or like Rhea americana, which is the South American ostrich, and like amalgams. And I have used that one. That one actually does work. Replace the need to really get rid of amalgam fillings appropriately and safely, but it can really mitigate the toxicity very nicely. There's all sorts of weird like things like that's why I wrote the little repertory so I can keep them track. Let's just look up one
Yeah,
and
let's
there's
do that. I'm so
look up
glad that
one
you've
at the
done that.
back. Let's see.
I do love, like with Colin Griffith's new Materia Medica books, that he's got a repertory for that as well. Because sometimes you might just like think, oh, these remedies I'm using is just not working. Just like look up in a repertory, oh, there's this random remedy that might be helpful, and you try it and it helps. So,
Yeah, no, it could be very good that way. Let's see. Scar tissue obfuscating movement, Carathartes aura. So one of the Cathartes aura. So that is, I believe, the turkey vulture. So things of that nature. There is prolapse of the organs, which is Phaeomacris mocino and Upepa epoch. So both of those are in the Coricomorphes that we talked about, that guardian remedy thing. Post-stroke recovery, Apiornis
ooh,
max. Patellar tendon pain, which is both in Myosidia monacis and Sidicula cremeri, so parrots in general. So there's all sorts of fun little things in there. Yeah, no,
yeah.
that really.
Can you give us a few more examples while you're there, like just in
Uh,
the repertory?
Serious but painless injuries, Archaeolochus colibris,
Hmm.
Grus japanensis, and Duranotus melaleucus, which is one of the eagles. Inability to stand up straight, which is Branta canadiensis, our good friend, the Canadian goose,
Ah,
known as the murder honk or the cobra chicken. Literally everyone up here in this country has a traumatic story from them. And it came out in the proving. It's like if you can imagine like an ancient Roman senator, that you have to be so tough and so aggressive. It's either oppress or be oppressed yourself or be victimized yourself. So you're gonna frickin' do it. And then eventually, of course, what happens? They get beaten down by it. They can't stand up straight. They're like hunched over and vulnerable, and people are being mean to them and pecking it down. So
Wow.
yeah, anyone who's interacted with those bastards will see like that's them. Some guy from Mexico gave them a name and it just went viral and the cobra chicken because
Cobra chicken.
they have these things and they'll like hiss at you and everything and he didn't know what a Canada goose was. He's like, "Oh, these cobra chickens, I hate them."
Cobra
And
chicken.
it's like, "Oh my God, we're obviously calling them that now." So, because that's a better name than Canada goose.
Well,
So,
that's funny because you see these memes as well of like, things that people think Australians are scared of. And there's like snakes and crocodiles and things. And then it's like things that Australians are actually scared of. And it's a magpie because, during swooping season, there's so many stories of people losing eyes from, magpies coming and like attacking them. And I've had that as well. We went riding our bikes once and my son was in front of me with his bicycle and he didn't see it, but I was behind him and this magpie just came down swooping. It only just like missed his head by, a couple of millimeters. But that's like the stuff that we are actually scared of, not the snakes and the crocodiles.
well, it's crazy too because like every Canadian toddler has a traumatic experience with it. Like it is universal. You grew up around these things, you had a fight with them, and it scarred you for life. Like right now, they're all really aggressive too because they've got all their little babies around, and so there's these little Tyrannosaurus geese kind of walking about now, and like one of them gets close, and then they'll start like to you, and it's just horrifying. But there's a remedy. So that's kind of it. I'm really happy about the book and I'm really proud of it. But it is, yeah, no, it was done. And
Fascinating.
now, honestly, we'll not be talking about it in Bali, strangely enough. So I got other things to talk about in Bali, but I will not be talking about that book. So
Okay, we won't bring it up then, but we will celebrate it with you
bring it up on the
that you
talk
have
is
managed
on
it done.
something different.
Okay.
So
Have you got guinea fowl in there? Actually, this venue that we're going to be
yes,
in Bali, they've actually got some guinea fowl on the property. It's so beautiful. I
yes.
love guinea fowl.
Guinea fowl was a Numida meleagris. Look it up.
You could be making all this shit up. I wouldn't know.
I could be, but I'm not. Uh, I'm not. Where is it? Oh, there's our little South African friend,
Oh,
Anthropologus paradisius. And where is Numidia? Oh, we're gonna find him. But Numidia, if I remember it, it was a really big remedy to do with structural racism. It was very
hmm.
interesting. Where are we? There's tuberculinum,
Interesting with the
aviar.
feathers, like black and white, like black with the specks of white as well.
Oh, there we go. I did this one myself. It was fear, guilt, bullying, and glamour. Again, it's very similar. There's a hierarchy. So
Hmm.
in their society is a hierarchy and it's dominated by fear. So you kind of go and like the people at the top are just can project the most fear off, but it's fake. So basically there's incredible fear and they feel incredibly guilty about using fear on people lower than themselves and everything. So there can be expansiveness and everything else. Is this? Yeah, no, that is new, but I meant that is the helmeted guinea fowl. Michal sent
Mm.
me some things about that. So there's
Wow.
this like fear and everything, and often emotional flatness and expand and like escapism and everything. So it's a really interesting remedy.
Interesting. I love their sound. Well, they'll be there in Bali waiting for you. There's a group of them that live
I'm
there
sure they
at that
will.
venue.
It's hard for them to be more aggressive than the Canadian geese, let me tell you. But that's it. I'm at the end of the animal kingdom, and I've got maybe I'll write a book on humanum remedies at some point because they're interesting.
Mm.
But that was it. I kind of started writing my animal book in 2014, and now I'm done.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
that must feel amazing.
It
Mm.
was, it was, I thought when I started this project, I thought it would be like 300 or 400 pages and I'd be done in like 4 or 5 years and
Mm.
everything. But here it took me 11 years to get it all
Wow.
done. So
Oh.
it was there. I'm gonna release like a little chart of like just a quick reference guide probably in August for the whole thing. But
Mm.
I don't know. It was like now what am I gonna do and everything. And I do have some more projects that I need to do and everything. And I do
Or
have some
maybe
more
you can
things.
just sit and bask in it all for a moment and just relax and take some time out and
Well, I just hang out with my nephew and my niece
oh
and
yeah. It's
sister-in-law
so
and my
cute.
mom a lot, and that's been really nice. And just, kind of living life and that kind of thing. So it is.
Amazing.
I do really like Calgary in the summer. It's very pretty here, so I'm just kind of biking and doing that kind of thing a lot.
Mm. Well, best places for people to obviously get the book is lulu.com. And then if they want to find out a bit more, they can go to drpaultheriault.com, Theriault. And any final messages you want to leave our listeners with?
I continue to encourage the study of systematics. Systematics in homeopathy, I think, is your key. Not to say you can neglect, materia medica of individual remedies and everything, but when you study the systematics, what is this class of remedies? How do we understand them? And you're able to differentiate them and tell what's special about that individual remedy versus kind of what's characteristic of the group. You not only gain a wider appreciation of the materia medica and kind of this evolutionary movement that humans go through, will be what I'm talking about in Bali.
Oh, yay.
But but you get this, you actually learn how to differentiate the remedies really well. So
Mm,
that would be my thing, is that
mm,
remedies, it was specifically mentioned by Hahnemann several times that closely related remedies often do have a lot in common, but they have key differences.
mm,
So I forget what aphorism, I really should have that ingrained in my mind, but that is a really key purport thing, and it really is our key to kind of mastering large amounts of materia medica and everything. So if you can
mm,
kind of know, okay, this person's in the bird remedy realm and they're kind of towards this, and then you can be like, okay, they're in one of these groups, boop, 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 and I've got a chart and a book for you.
mm, mm,
Differentiate them and figure, oh, it's this one. Hooray. And you can get a really exact remedy really quickly and really quite easily that way with a minimal amount of study.
mm. Amazing.
I would encourage you all to study systematics.
Systematics. Alrighty, got it. I'll see you in a few weeks.
I'll see you two. You two usually. I'm looking forward to it.
I
So.
can't wait. All the best. Bye.